Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be using my brand new paper pad Easter Bunny with the embellishment pack, and we're going to be following the Call Me Crafty Elves Sheetload of Cards March 2024 sketch. So this is the sketch here. I will leave in the description box down below a link to the video where she debuts this brand new sketch, and you'll be able to follow her instructions to be able to download this. You've got supplies on here, dimensions that you will need. This is to create the US A2 size cards. I'm going to be creating my A6 cards, so I have just altered the dimensions on here, and in some of my previous videos I've always done something wrong. I've always cut something wrong, but I made myself just a little template here. I just sort of cut it up to make sure that everything worked. So this time we can have everything be working perfectly. So yeah, you can find in her video where to download this from. And like I said, we're going to be using this brand new Easter paper pad. And we're going to do some fussy cutting with our toppers from our embellishment pack as well. So this one here is a landscape card. So of course I'm using A4 paper. She uses 12 by 12, so I do have quite a bit of 12 by 12, so I would like to go through and kind of use up as much of that as possible. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that at some point so we can kind of follow these a little bit more. So I have looked at altering the dimensions to fit our cards, and yeah, let's get into doing all of our cutting first of all. And then we can look at just exactly how many cards we are going to create. So I think here she has 3 sheets of 12 by 12 and she creates 12 cards here. So we'll just see what we get to. So I'm going to pop that to one side. I'm going to pop that up there so I can see it. So yeah, this is the Easter Bunny paper pad and embellishment pack. I'll leave a link to my Etsy shop down below if you want to shop both of these, and our Bright Easter pack as well, as brand new for this month. So yeah, let's get picking out our papers. So from the embellishment pad we've got our 2 topper sheets, and we have our papers as well. So these are printed coordinating papers. That's going to go with your patterned paper. In your pack you are going to get 2 of each, so you get 8 in total. So let's pick out some patterns. So these are all kind of busy-ish patterns, but they've all got the white background, so that's really what sort of prompted adding in some coloured card into here. I think I want to use this one because it is really cute. And let's look here. I think I'm going to use one of our Easter egg prints as well. So both of these would work really perfectly for envelopes. So I'm a little bit tempted to keep those, only because of the way that the pattern is. It's on the diagonal, so will work quite nicely. So maybe we'll come in here and maybe it'd just be a little bit busy with these as well. So maybe we'll do that one, and we will do that as well. Okie dokie, so let's move that to the side. So in terms of the patterned papers in here, so if we look back at the design, so she doesn't have a matted layer for the outer border. I'm going to have one because obviously we don't have a colour for our background, so I'm definitely going to add a colour in for that. And to be honest, I'm thinking about just going in with that green colour. I think is going to work really nicely. And you can see, so we've got our 3 different patterns. So you've got the 2 background pieces here and then this piece here. I feel like maybe I want to come in with this one just to kind of keep it slightly subtle between them. So I think maybe I'll come in with those. And then obviously we've got our toppers and things to add, again, a little bit more colour. The only thing we need to find is going to be a sentiment, but I will find that off screen. So I'm going to leave these 2 pieces for the moment. Yeah, and then we just have our sentiment strips. I might just leave that one potentially white, but I'll see what sentiment that I do find. So I've got my papers. What I'm going to do now, just off camera, because I think otherwise it is going to take quite a while, is I'm going to just go ahead and fussy cut all of these. If you have got something like a scan and cut, that maybe can go around these and cut them out for you. I've done them like this because unfortunately my scan and cut machine, I just kept trying to cut them out like really nice proper ephemera, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I've done them as top proper sheets, but I think some people do enjoy fussy cutting and that as well, so you know, it is just a little extra thing. And I wanted to add some images in here as well, so I'm going to do a little bit of fussy cutting. I'm going to get all these cut out, and then we're going to go ahead when we come back and cut down our patterned paper. So you can see I've got all my ephemera here. I've cut out all of the images from both of these sheets, so I have that all ready to go for when I want to do any of my card making. I've got my pre-made card bases here, and I've got, of course, my patterned paper and my coloured card. So with this, like I said, this was the first set of cards, a sheet load of cards that I've made where I didn't end up cutting anything wrong, which is very exciting. So with the design, like I said, it doesn't have an initial sort of bottom layer matte, and with the papers that I'm using, because they are white backgrounds, it's not going to stand out against that white card base. So I did decide to add a matte and layer in here. So I'm trimming this down to be 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches. That's going to give us just a nice small border around our patterned paper, and again it's just going to help kind of lift it from the white on white essentially. So I started with the green, so I trimmed this down, so I made 4 of each one, whereas before I've made I think between like 6 and 8 cards, possibly a few more. With this I am just creating 4 cards because that was what I had initially with my coloured cardstock, because I'd only printed 1 of each of the colours, so I just kind of made that work for me. But obviously you've got doubles of each of the colours, so you'll be able to create multiples of the same card here. So I've taken then the cream colour. This is going to be the matte for our sort of middle top a bit, which is going to have our sentiment. So this here I cut to be 3 1/4 inch by 2 inches. And again, I'm just cutting enough for 4. So let me just count how many cards. So I do make 2 envelopes at the end, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of this particular design, and I end up actually making 4 additional cards as well, but that was because I did end up cutting the cardstock the wrong orientation. That was the only issue that I ran into. Other than that, obviously I did follow this design here. So the next thing that I'm cutting is the bigger background piece, so the left hand side piece, and this is going to measure 3.5 inches by 3 3/4. And so what I did initially was I got the measurements the wrong way round when I cut my patterned paper, so the pattern, you'll see later, but the pattern wasn't the right way around to go with this landscape design. So then I just transferred it and added it on and created an extra set of cards with this. So I'm going to create 6 in this video following this sheet load of cards design. And then we've got the panel, and you can see oh yeah, I did cut it wrong, didn't I? Yeah, again, it was all to do with the pattern of what I was cutting the wrong way around here. But in terms of the measurements, I got everything right for a change. So this piece here is the strip for the right-hand side. And this is being cut to 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And then again, I'm just going to cut 4 of those here as well. And again, then you've got all the extra little pieces as well. Crafty Out, I think her name is Alicia, I think it is, in her video. So again, I'll leave a link in the description box down below, but she then takes those little pieces and shows you how you can decorate the insides of your cards. And I did do that with a couple of my cards. I'm not sure if I show it or not. I'm not 100%, I can't remember, but yeah, I do use some of those pieces sometimes to decorate the inside of the cards. So the next piece that I'm cutting is the patterned paper to go on the center piece, the center portion, which is again going to have our sentiment and a little bit of ephemera. That is measuring 3 inches by 1 3/4 inches. And again, that's just going to sit really nicely in the center of our card. So I will say, I think it is later on, I do say that I think the patterned papers that I used here, because they are both all of them are white backgrounds, I personally don't think they stand out a lot next to each other. I think the patterns kind of blend into one a little bit here, which is a little bit disappointing. I think sometimes you have to look at a card design and you have to look at your papers and see whether it's the right papers for that particular card design. When you look at the example and any of the cards that Alicia does create using this sketch, or any of her like design team that she has, you know, it really, the papers, obviously because it's all about the papers, but you have to kind of pick the right papers for that design. And like I said, I think because both of mine were white background, looking at it, you can't kind of initially tell that it's kind of two separate pieces of patterned paper. Hopefully you can kind of see that sort of later on in the video, but I still really love how they came out. But yeah, I think it's picking the right paper for the right design. So I'm going to put these together. So I think normally I do kind of just do one all the way through and then show you all of the cards. But I think here I actually show you the whole process, and I'm doing a little bit of batch making. And I'll tell you for why. It's because I'm actually on the phone talking to a friend at the same time. So I just kind of let it roll, just carried on sort of creating as I was talking as well. So I'm just adding all of the green background pieces. So altogether I have 4 of the cards with the green background that you can see I'm gluing here, and then I have 2 of the same design, which is with a yellow background. But again, you can mix and match this. If you go back to Alicia's video and see, she shows you how she puts her cards together, how she mixes and matches her papers as well. So she gets a really lovely variety of cards and sort of just slight variations in the design in terms of the papers that she's put together and what piece goes where, if that makes sense. So all I did was start by gluing down the strip on the right hand side, and you can kind of see it here a little bit, that you can kind of tell obviously that they are different papers, but they just blend quite a lot because they've got just that white background. So what I could have done here was to just have another piece of coloured cardstock and just use that for the strip instead, possibly. That would have just broken it up, or you just use 2 sort of nice contrasting patterned papers. So again, I'm just going through, gluing them down. I'm going to add a little bit of dimension with that centerpiece. But what I have noticed is when somebody makes an order, so you can purchase these papers and my other papers over on my Etsy shop. And again, there'll be a link in the description box down below. When I send out an order, so I send a little thank you card as well, but I also do a freebie card. So these cards that you see here that I make go in then with my orders, and it's just a nice little free extra gift. But I have found that it has been better when I have cards that have no dimension, because they're not adding any additional bulk into my packaging, and they're not adding much in the way of additional weight either. So I think that is something I'm keeping in mind as well, is just to try and keep that bulk down, just so I can carry on adding in that card freebie as well. So now we've got the centerpieces. So we have the watering can patterned paper, which I really love. It's going to work perfectly for spring, for Easter, for Mother's Day. It's just going to work really, really nicely because it's just an all-around nice sort of spring kind of background. So again, I'm just doing a little bit of batch making here. So obviously when I've shown you in the previous videos where we've done the sheet loads of cards, like I said, I've done the first one as a complete card, and then I just kind of do the rest of them off camera and then come back and show you them all together. Whereas this is how I make cards. If you're going to batch make cards, if you're making the same card over and over again, this really is the best way of doing it, because you just finish one task before starting the next one. And I just think that it's the quickest process. You know, you feel like you're kind of getting somewhere with it, especially if you're making a lot of cards as well. So like I said, we're going to add some foam onto the back of these. And what I love about these foam circles I got here, they're from Amazon. You get a nice big pack of them. Is then I just use the actual, when I've used the dots out of them, I use just the rest of it as well, because it's all the same dimension in here. There's really no point in wasting it. It's all really good foam to add onto the back of whatever it is that you want to add a bit of dimension to. So absolutely no wastage here. So I'm just popping a little strip of this onto the back of that center panel and just placing it right into the center of that card. I really love doing these sheet loads of cards. Let me know what you think. Obviously, I did miss my upload on Wednesday. This was supposed to go up, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that. We did have a death in the family early Wednesday morning. So obviously, I didn't get around to uploading this video. So obviously, it's going up today. But let me know if you enjoy these sheet loads of cards. I really love it because it gives me an opportunity to use the new sheet load of cards and just create a bunch of really nice cards. cards, and because you get a new one every month, so it's quite convenient in that sense. But then also it's a really great chance for me to kind of demonstrate my patterned paper packs, my paper pads to you, and then show you the new releases for that month. And then also bringing in those embellishment packs as well is going to give you that kind of complete kit. I have thought about maybe doing like a monthly card kind of kit. I was thinking about doing one in July because I need time to put it together, but in time for Christmas. And I don't know whether to maybe do some like pre-orders or something. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. But I really love that collaboration of using my papers and then using the brand new Sheetload of cards design. So just then, as I was talking, I cut down just some scraps of the green card for my sentiments, and that piece measured 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just finding a sentiment that I want to use, and I've got these 3 Easter stamp sets from Simon Says Stamp that I bought a good few years ago, and I'll be honest, I've never actually used them, I don't think. So I'm going to use 2 of these sentiments. The second set of cards is going to get a different sentiment here, but yeah, for whatever reason I've never used them, but that's why I've kind of stopped buying stuff, because I found that I was buying and then not using it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit better with that. But I'm going to stamp this. So the designs that we're doing here, this one's going to read Happy Easter, and then for the second batch of cards they read Easter Wishes, both of them from the same stamp set, but they've just got a really nice fonts to them. So I'm just going to put them into my stamping platform because I've positioned it exactly where I want the stamp, and then I can just swap out these little strips and yeah, get it stamped, and then everything is exactly the same. Not that it has to be, because you know the cards are going to all go to different people, but it just means that it's much easier, everything's central and really lined up nicely. The only thing I haven't included as a part of the kit is some sentiments. So again, yeah, I'd really love to just get some feedback from you guys, what you guys think. Maybe some sentiments would give a full sort of kit feel to it. I am looking potentially at buying like a Cricut or something like that, something where I can maybe cut out the topper sheets so you have the separate ephemera already. Maybe it could be like an option. I could do just the topper sheets. I'm not sure, yeah, whether to just carry on doing them as the sheets, or whether to, once I've bought a machine, hopefully, to then go ahead and cut them so you've got the ephemera pre-cut there for you. So I'm not sure about that, but yeah, just stamping all of these. So I stamp them, clean my stamp, and then we can go ahead and pop these onto our cards. So these are going to go up on a little bit of foam as well, because I wanted to add some of the ephemera pieces behind. So I definitely would say that this is some of my busier cards, because you have all that patterned paper, and then I added some of the ephemera pieces on top. But what works so well is everything goes together perfectly. So even though, you know, it's like it's a lot of imagery on top of each other, we have the coloured card there to separate those layers a little bit. We've got the nice clean, you'll see once we've put the sentiments on there, you've got the really nice clean and simple with those sentiments. But yeah, because everything goes together, all of the images are so similar. Well, they're exactly the same because all the images are taken from those papers. Because it all matches, it just works really nicely together. So within the topper sheets, we've got, you know, the rabbits and the eggs and the flowers and the butterflies and that, and then yeah, it just sort of matches everything in really, really nicely. So I'm really happy about the topper sheets. Yeah, it's just whether I want to look at doing them as being cut out eventually, maybe, than just as a topper sheet itself, because not everyone likes to sit there and fussy cut. So I'm just gluing the images down. They don't need to be up on any dimension. And then we're going to have them kind of sat behind our sentiment, so they're a little bit more grounded. I'm going to take some more of that foam tape, if you like, or foam pad, just where I'm cutting down the sheet, because again, it just works really perfectly. And then I'm going to pop it onto the card. So you can still see a little bit of that patterned paper underneath, but you're just kind of grinding those images onto the card. And then basically I'm going to do the same thing for the other cards. Yeah, and we're all going to just use those different little bits of ephemera, so everyone's going to be slightly different. And yeah, I really just love how these have turned out. Okay, so we have our finished cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I did do just a slightly different design. We got 4 there, so we got 10 cards, and then I did create 2 envelopes here as well. In terms of what we got left, we got a couple sheets of patterned paper left, lots of scraps in there. We've got our orange sheet, and then we got tons of ephemera in there as well, so lots of things left over. So following on from our design, so we've got these 6 cards just here. What I would say potentially with these patterns, obviously in our design, you know, you can see that is completely 2 different kinds of paper there with these, because they are both white background. It does kind of mold into one, but obviously you do have that difference of the patterns. And then we've got our centerpiece in the middle here. We've got this really lovely Happy Easter, which just fitted absolutely perfectly on this little strip. And then I tried to just add some of those ephemera pieces around, quite busy, you know, maybe this piece here, the backing, if I'd done that maybe in a brighter colour, it would kind of make a break in between these 2 patterned papers maybe, but I still really love how these come out, and I think the papers are really adorable, and having these papers, the coloured card, sorry, that matches in so perfectly with those papers, I think is a real good game changer. So we got a couple of variations here, and again, I just varied up the ephemera that we have on here. As you can see, they're the ones that I made to begin with. So I was planning to obviously do another 4, so another 2 sets of these ones here, but I did end up cutting the pattern slightly wrong for these pieces just here, so that's what then prompted just doing this style. Now I really love this kind of style where you have got just that piece of patterned paper at the top, and just I used then a different sentiment from that same stamp set, and I think it just worked really, really nicely. So we got the difference there. We brought in that orange patterned paper, so we've used the green, which I think is just a lovely shade of green. Got that lovely yellow, and then obviously we've got our cream colour just here. So these are flat, they don't actually have any dimension. I could have added my ephemera with dimension, but I just decided to leave it flat. So we've got our 4 sets of those cards, and then I just added a little cluster of ephemera there as well. And again, I really love the sentiment. I think it is a really nice font. So we got 10 cards so far from that, and as you've seen, we've still got pieces left. And then I wanted to turn these 2 pieces of patterned paper into envelopes, because when you create your envelopes, the pattern ends up on the diagonal. So you really need to look at the kind of patterned paper that you're using. Has it got a direction to that pattern? If it does, then you know you may or may not be able to use it. Because these pieces were on the diagonal this way here, they were perfect for creating our envelope. So let's just pop one of our cards in. So on the We Are Memory Keepers scoreboard, I think for these cards here, I did the A2 size, because the measurements that you need to cut your paper down to is 8 1/4 inches square, and that's exactly the width of an A4 sheet of paper, so that fitted in here. But my card does fit perfectly. If I just lay it over the top, you can see I've got a nice bit of space. So whether you do, if you have a true A6 style size card, whether this side would work for you, but certainly with how I cut my card bases down, they do fit in here really, really nicely. And then yeah, it just all goes so perfectly together as well. So I'm really chuffed with the envelopes, and again, when you look at them, the pattern is straight down. What you could do if you're going to use this as your actual card to mail is maybe just do like a label, or add a white piece that you can add your address on. Or if you know, a bit worried about it, or you don't want to stick like your stamp or whatever, you could just pop it into another envelope, obviously, as well. But yeah, so I'm really chuffed with that. So like I said, we have got pieces left over, lots of ephemera still, and we have got 10 cards, and we have got 2 envelopes. So yeah, really, really chuffed with this one. I do like the design. I think with this here, maybe it would be better like with our Bright Easter, where you really can see the difference in these patterned papers here, possibly with papers where you've got a main focal point and something a little more of a background paper might work a little better. So maybe this particular sketch would work better with a different paper pad, but I still think the cards how they came out I still think are absolutely beautiful. And again, those ephemera, I mean, I cut both sheets out, cut everything out, so it took a little time to do that, but because these are printed on 230 GSM paper or card, they are nice and thick, so they do kind of just hold their own quite nicely, so that's definitely a bonus there with those, is you want that stability. But that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And again, you'll find a link to my Etsy shop where you can purchase this Easter Bunny paper pad and embellishment pack. And also then I'll leave a link to the video for March 2024's sketch for Sheetload of cards as well. So that's going to be it for this video. So thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.